It's our weekly sports episode. Well, you might as well call it our infamous podcast about sports and stuff. Where on this podcast you get to hear a little bit of information about what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in the video game world, a little bit of the technology information, get a little bit of a music knowledge chat, two of our personal faves that we do on the show, the artist spotlight, and of course the infamous ass of the week. So stick around. You might actually enjoy the episode. Episode 138 of The Pass After Dark, as my co-host called it. I'm back. BT with you. Dimitri will be again.
Back at it again.
Doing a different flow as always. Same script, different day, and quite a heavy week of sports and tech. We'll kind of be doing a Cliff Note based podcast, but as Dimitri probably realized, I really didn't throw as many topics in this week. Because I looked at it last week, I was like, we did quite a bit of, we found some stories that were big, but we also didn't want to give you too much information, but also still give you a little bit of what's going on in the tech world, sports world, and things of that sort. Weekly episodes each week are uploaded to Spreaker.com. If you want to check out any previous episodes, you can go to Spreaker.com/RatePodcast. They are uploaded on PassPodcast.com. Slowly getting that website back up and running. And finally, our microphone we're using, it may sound a little different. We're trying something different, as I have to remember not to mess with this. But we are being recorded using the Blue Yeti microphone. So to kind of give a backstory, as you all know, we do the weekly picks. Obviously, it's week 11 because we're recording at 7:30 in the evening. Week 11 picks we've already recorded and gave those picks that we have. It was on last week's show, so we'll be doing week 12 picks. We'll give the results from what we got from those last few games on week 10 and week 11, and then we'll start on week 12. So it'll be it's kind of almost like it's a week behind, if that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So this week we'll be doing our week 12 picks. If I do recall correctly, because I don't think I mentioned it in last week's episode, I'll go ahead and give the overall standings. I'm currently 64-46, and Dimitri is 56-27. So I still got a long ways to go. Hopefully, if I remember and look at some of these games, I think I picked pretty good on most of them. So we'll see how that all went. I know with the Saints game, that was an interesting game today. They pulled off. They're on an 8-game winning streak, so that was a surprising factor.
They're playing great. I feel like they're the team to beat right now.
Yeah.
Especially with both how they're running the ball too. They have a very balanced team.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram ran for 134 today.
Yeah.
And then Drew Brees threw for 385 yards.
So are they clipping? So they're clipping our division's heels, and they're also clipping the heels of the Eagles. You can kind of say in a sense, right?
Yeah, and I like the Saints right now. I want to see how the Eagles do tomorrow.
Yeah.
On prime time, but I'm liking the Saints. Right now. Because running is, you got to be able to do that. You know what I mean? In the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I like how they're able to have.
And Ingram actually is running. Yeah. So it's
not just Ingram and Kamara.
This is true.
Kamara are.
And that could have been Peterson. It could have been.
Yeah, no, remember. It's funny to think back all the way back to week 1. Remember when he was staring down Sean Payton and he's like, "Give me the ball."
Right.
Maybe. They just needed younger legs in there.
Yeah.
That's probably just what it was. They just wanted younger legs in there, and also because they both can catch the ball out the backfield too.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we'll like I said, we'll update those scores. I believe Atlanta's playing.
Atlanta's playing tomorrow.
Okay, they play tomorrow.
Philly's
got
tonight.
Okay.
Play tonight.
All right. I said, wait, I'm remembering because I know Carolina had a bye week. So
the biggest surprise today was the Chiefs and the Giants.
Yeah, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Giants did pull off upset for that.
Yeah,
one, right?
High scoring 12-9 game in overtime. They won.
Now the close second for me, because I believe we both, if I remember correctly, I think we both picked against Baltimore.
I was actually thinking. I was wondering if you did. I knew I did.
Yeah, I think I did. Let me see, because Baltimore was against
Green Bay.
Green Bay. Yeah, we both went Green Bay.
Yeah, I knew I picked Green Bay.
Yeah, they actually got shut out, which was. I mean, but that is. You never know what you're gonna get with Baltimore because Baltimore is not really known for an offensive weaponry. Yeah. But this is probably like that wake up game type of game. So. We get, that's kind of our. I guess you can say that. So we'll do that kind of as a new thing. Like we'll get what stories we got from what games we're playing, early on. I know if I'm not mistaken, the 7:00 games are finishing up now.
Yes, the last one just finished up. New England beat the brakes off of Oakland.
Off Oakland.
Yeah, 33-8. And another team that did work was the Chargers.
Yeah,
54-24 over Buffalo.
And okay, so let's talk about that. We will go into this. I'm sorry. I know we as I tell you all the time, we always will have like story time randomly, and then we get into what's going on. But if y'all remember, or if you're a Buffalo fan, as we already talked about, Calvin Benjamin was picked up. He did get hurt. Feel bad about that occurring. But on the other side of it, Tyrod Taylor was supposed to be. They were looking at he was going to be the starter, and midweek it changed, and they put in. Matt Flanagan. I think I'm probably getting the name wrong. I can't think of it right offhand. I don't have my stories. Hold on, y'all. I never like being unprepared because I know I have like who he was. Nathan Peterman. So Nathan Peterman was starting this week.
And if you don't know who he is, you're not by yourself.
Don't you go? Yeah. So Demetri may be looking it up, but random either or. So Tyrod Taylor was, expected to be benched, and Nathan Peterman came in and then threw not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 interceptions. And it was at that point that Buffalo then decided mid-game, let's go ahead and put Tyrod Taylor in. They put him in after the first half.
And then they scored their only 2 touchdowns in the second half. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. LaShawn McCoy had a running touchdown in the first quarter, but besides that,
I mean, they were already getting beat, but at least you kind of can. I mean, it was you. But the Bills, even with this loss, the Bills have still had a pretty decent season so far. Decent.
They're 5-5 now. They're 1-4 on the road, meaning they're 4-1 at home.
Right.
However, if you're not winning games,
you're not doing it right.
Yeah, and you have 8 games away from home, so you have to win some of those games.
That's true.
And right now they're showing that they're most likely not going to make the playoffs just with how they played the last 2 weeks. So they got tore up last week as well too.
Yeah, they still. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they still have 1 game remaining against New England. I think they've already played them once earlier this year.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, so that's our cliff note of week 11 in a summary. As I mentioned, or as you mentioned, Philly and Dallas are playing tonight, and the Atlanta game is tomorrow. So we'll have those. Like I said, we have those picks. If you did miss those or may not remember who we chose, just go back and listen to episode 137 at the beginning. I don't really have the timestamp, but yeah, just go back and listen to that beginning. You'll get those scores.
I chose Philly, if you're wondering.
And you chose against Atlanta. No, I'm just kidding. No, I ain't gonna do that to you. I know you ain't that bad.
No, I'm just kidding. I chose the Cowboys.
That's gonna be the day you pick Miami. So we'll see. So week 12 got a slate of games. We're gonna jump right into it. They put the order. Well, oh wait, before I forget, because I did not even factor in. This is Thanksgiving weekend, so we have our first slate of games. Of course, the infamous Thursday and Friday turkey games. On Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, the Chargers play against Dallas. Who you got?
They're either being nice to Dallas. I don't know who's going to show up with the Chargers, because the Chargers are definitely, they've lost, I believe it's 21 games in the last 3 years with only 1 score. Cowboys are still the team that can't shoot straight.
Yeah.
That's a tough one right there. I'm going to go with Dallas at home.
Okay. Even without Ezekiel, it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, it's still Dallas. The Chargers have been, the Chargers, we got to, like this, we had this win. You got the infamous 0-0, and somebody got a win game with the Giants.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and go against the obvious defeat and pick Dallas. I'm not going to pick San Diego. I ain't that great. Then we follow that up with a infamous division rivalry between the Giants and the Redskins. That'll be on at 8:30 on Thanksgiving Day. Gonna pick. I would be crazy if I thought that this would happen, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Redskins because it's nothing against the Giants. I just don't see really any big show out from them, so I'll go ahead and go Redskins for that game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Giants played all right today. They played against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Redskins on that one. The Redskins played good as well today too. It's just they played against the Saints. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Redskins at home.
All right. Next up, we have on that infamous Black Friday. Well, it's an odd time they have it for, but they're playing they have it at 12:30 a.m. I'm assuming it's gonna be not here, but I guess it's. I need to look up the actual time for that because I'm not sure. This might be what they have on this site, but the Vikings are playing against Detroit, and anyone who knows, Detroit is always that team that's slated for their Thanksgiving game, and it's always either a great thing or it's a scary thing. I'm actually going to go in the surprise opposite direction and pick Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota's been playing well also. They beat the Rams today too.
Okay.
I believe they beat the Rams today, and so I'm gonna go with Minnesota on this one. They've been playing really well recently.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with them again.
All right. Since we spoke about both teams and it kind of was a best of both worlds and a spin-off in so many words, and I'm sorry, before I continue, the game between the Vikings and Detroit, that's actually going to be the first game on Thanksgiving because I was
12:30 p.m.
Yeah, because I was looking at the time when I looked at this. Because I'm looking at this site, I'm like, wait, 4:30? Why are they playing like 12:30 in the morning? Okay. So then we'll go into, since we just talked about them. Buffalo's playing against Kansas City. Buffalo coming, as we've confirmed, coming off of a tough struggle of a matchup. I'm gonna go ahead and take Kansas City for that one.
Yes, Buffalo's coming off a tough matchup, and so is a tough game. So is Kansas City. They should feel.
Yeah.
They've actually been playing bad recently, also.
Mm-hmm.
So they need a game to kind of
Get
play
the momentum.
better. And Buffalo, I feel like it's a good team to do that. You know, they let the Chargers score 54. I'm gonna go with Kansas City on that one.
Okay. Interdivision rivals. If I'm pinpointing this correctly, because I know it's divisions trying to keep up with who's who will throw you off. Tennessee and Indianapolis. Colts are still in the post-luck era, so as of right now, I'm not really too wild with the Colts yet. So I'm going to pick Tennessee for this one.
Yeah, Tennessee, they want to make the playoffs. They need to continue winning these games, especially
Mm-hmm.
since the Jaguars are right there on them
Right.
for winning this division. So I'm going to go with Tennessee on that one as well, too. They need to show that they can beat the teams that they should beat.
Okay. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Cincinnati Bengals. I want to make sure I get this number right. Let's see. We have Couch, Detmer, Wynn, Peterson, Holcomb, McCown, Garcia, Dilfer, Fry. If you're not sure of who I'm naming, these are all the quarterbacks that the Browns have had since the Tim Couch pickup. And as of right now, we're at, if the site was updated, I believe they included the infamous Wessler and Osweiler. So we're at the end of the road, but it's still going strong. So until otherwise noted, and until the Browns surprise me with a first win, picking the Bengals.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Bengals on that one, too. Not much to... the Browns got to show me something first.
Yeah.
It's not like the Bengals have been doing great either. It's just the Browns have
been horrible. Like, they've been the true definition of just garbage, trash, atrocious. There are many references we can use. Continuing into the 1 o'clock matchups from the games we mentioned earlier. The Panthers playing against the Jets. You already know, I'm picking the Panthers.
Yeah, Jets play on and off. They're better this year than I expected them to be. Especially them looking more like the Browns or Giants this year. They've played better against better competition. Okay. But I'm still going to go with the Panthers on that one.
Okay. I don't even have to ask you because I kind of already know the answer. Dolphins against the Patriots. Gonna pick the Patriots.
So the next game is the. I'm going to go with the Patriots also.
I don't even ask you. I already knew. If you had just said we would go to the next game, I was like, I already know what his answer is. You would have been. I would have had you covered. I would have remembered exactly where to put that information. Yeah, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. I'll actually let you start off with this one.
Tampa Bay and Atlanta. I think that's going to be. I think it's gonna be a good game. It's an in division game right there.
Yeah.
One person has some stuff going on around him.
Yeah.
Off the field. I'm gonna go with the Falcons on that one. They need to win this game also if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah. I'll also go Atlanta for that game. Tampa Bay it's kind of like a rocky road. Like Tampa Bay,
more of them this year.
Yeah, Tampa Bay was because I mean we even knowing our division and knowing how teams can or can't play, it's always that question of okay, which team is going to be on the rise, and usually the team at the bottom kind of wakes up. And it was expected that Tampa Bay would be doing that, but from what it looks like, they've kind of left their game at home.
Yeah,
so,
the Saints woke up instead.
Yeah, the Saints likely will be the turnaround team because you know it, I know it. Anyone who knows our division knows it. The team that you least expect to have that off the radar run is usually going to do it, and this year it has been.
And then the team that's expected to run again the following year generally doesn't do it.
Right, that's true. Chicago at Philly. Philadelphia.
Chicago played pretty well today. They played their team down to the wire. However, Philadelphia, they're just on a different level. Chicago played Detroit down to the wire. However, Philadelphia is not Detroit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Philadelphia on that one.
All right. Seattle, San Francisco. San Francisco finally won a game. Congratulations. Still picking Seattle.
Were you the one that said that they were the 0-9ers?
Yeah, that was a meme that we found. Yeah, and they finally they broke the hump last week.
Week. And I don't see them adding on to that those accomplishments. So I'm gonna go with Seattle on that one.
All right. Silent game of the week, maybe. The Saints against the Rams. I am going to really be mad at doing this because I normally wouldn't. I'm gonna pick the Saints because I really don't want to pick. I don't want to pick division teams. Like that's just where I'm at.
I'll be that for you. I'll be that pettiness for you. I'm gonna go with the Rams because I was actually thinking the exact same thing.
I'm like I really don't want to pick.
I think the Saints are probably possibly gonna win. However, the Rams played terrible today, and I think they need a bounce back game. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with the Rams. Okay. I just hope the Saints don't win.
You possibly get the win for that one. So it's doable. Coming up next, Jacksonville at Arizona. So I will go Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been on a very solid run so far this year, so I'm going Jacksonville.
I actually
surprising.
My pops, what's it called? He had some comments about what I said about Jacksonville. I believe it was last week when I called them. I said they're a real team. Yeah. He thought I was taking a shot at Jacksonville. I'm just saying, let's be real. They haven't been a real team in a few years now. Yeah. And I'm saying they're a legit contender right now. Legit contender
to have a bounce back year.
Yeah. To make the playoffs and make it maybe in the AFC Championship game or win a game in the playoffs. Which is a feat in itself. And with that one, I'm gonna go with Jacksonville. Arizona hasn't really been shown much this year, so I'm gonna go with Jacksonville on that
one. Okay. This would be an interesting run. Looking at the Broncos at the Raiders. Really got to pick this game.
Raiders lost 33-8 today.
Right.
To the
Patriots. Yeah.
And the Broncos lost 20-17 to Cincinnati, who we were just talking about isn't that good. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll still take. I mean, I'll be the surprise guy, and it's not that I'm trusting him, but it's still Marshawn Lynch, and it's still Denver with a questionable quarterback. So I'll pick the Raiders.
The Raiders were down 30-0 until like deep in the fourth quarter today, and they went for a 2-point conversion after a touchdown they scored, thinking that was going to help.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Broncos just because. Why are you gonna go for 2 when you're down 30 to 6?
You ain't got nothing else to lose. At that point, there's nothing else to lose. Most teams, it's like, let's go in our bag of tricks and let's try something different. You know how it goes. Going into the late night games on next Sunday, Green Bay goes into Heinz Field. I'm hoping that's the field because I know teams rebrand so much, but they're going to Pittsburgh to play on the Steelers. I would not see any other reason since I like seeing their touchdown celebrations to not go for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, with that one. Green Bay they don't have Aaron Rodgers, and so at that point, especially after how they played today, 23-0 against Baltimore. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Steelers on that one. Okay,
and finally Monday night game, Houston at Baltimore. Baltimore still surprised me this week. I'm stuck on it. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to lie about it.
Texans surprised me today too with their win over Arizona.
Exactly. So it's a hit or miss either way. AFC teams, non-division, but still a relevant game. Gonna pick Baltimore, especially with it being at home.
Yeah, with this one you can literally flip a coin. And
Yeah.
They're both teams that aren't doing pretty well this year.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Ravens are the only ones who have their starting quarterback still with them. So
yeah,
I'm going with the Ravens on that one.
All right. So those are our picks. As I mentioned, next week we'll be doing week 13, and what we'll do is I'll give the results from those last couple of games from week 10 and week 11, so that way we kind of have it all nipped in the bud, and then it'll slowly be the catch up towards the end of the season. And as time progresses, we'll get into the fun part, which I'm really looking forward to, because to give you a backstory, because a lot of my listeners remember, I got to about, I think it was week 12 or week 13, and I think that was when, I won't say I pod faded, but it was more so me doing picks just didn't really have the same passion, so it was kind of just a coast along of just doing picks. So now it's a possibility to be able to carry it long enough where, hey, we might actually go into making playoff picks, and we may, if lucky enough, get into editing, learning of doing, hey, let's record and pick up what we said when we did playoff picks for the beginning of the season. So
yeah, as I said, you recall what we did for Super Bowl picks? If so, delete that footage.
Okay. It's all online, so I'll see what I can do for that part. So we'll go to the next story. Now, normally we kind of stick to sports, and this is a sports-based topic, but it's also I don't want to say controversial topic. It's a unique circumstance because 4 years ago, this gentleman was on the cover of GQ for other intents. They were doing kind of just a breakdown and talking about who he was. I'll kind of briefly go over that story, that article, and then I'll go into what today's announcement is. They basically were talking about, his stats, how talented he was, what he could, as far as how he played in Super Bowl and the playoffs against the Packers, blah, 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 things of that sort. They were in the midst of possibly trying to win the Super Bowl. And here it is now, 4 years later, he's made the cover of GQ as being the Citizen of the Year. And this is one of those few times that I don't want to do black and white, but I feel like I am going to do it because it's just how media is shaped but unshaped. No one expects, there's no right or wrong answer to doing a Citizen of the Year for an award.
And when we're doing this, we're not trying to compare someone else's accomplishments to somebody else,
right?
Or what they've done. Because
the first thing that a lot of people that I was looking at one of the ESPN, I think it was First Take, and they were comparing an infamous, they were saying, well, here's what J.J. Watt did, and why wasn't J.J. Watt looked at in this category, when it's also not taken away from anything that J.J. Watt did as a person. It's one person, it's one award. Yeah. It's mainly come down to he was, and they talked about this in this article. It also transformed Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick himself turned into a lightning rod and a powerful symbol of activism and resistance. He's been still doing his silent protests. He worked with GQ on a project as far as the Men of the Year issue back December of last year. Or for this coming December year, the Men of the Year. He's helped assemble a team of his confidants, which are various individuals such as J. Cole, Ava DuVernay, activist Harry Belafonte, and Linda Sarsour, to name a few. And they'll be speaking on various subjects such as activism, protests, and equality, and also providing some insights into who Colin Kaepernick is. I'm gonna go ahead. Because this is a heavy, it's a heavy topic, but it's a fun topic. So
yeah, definitely with this, I feel like some of the reasons why he got it was just the fact that he created a conversation that needed to be talked about. With this type of conversation, whenever it's with the type of conversation that he was trying to start with social injustice,
yes,
it's and say protesting. Whenever you protest, not everybody's gonna be on the same side, and of course it's gonna make some people uncomfortable. Which that's what a protest is supposed to do. You know what I mean? It's supposed to go against the grain. It's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to start conversations, and that's what he did. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people saying like, oh, just like he sacrificed his job, like how he makes millions of dollars, not to speak about himself, not to speak for himself, but to speak for those who can't be like to speak for those who aren't heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people who say like, oh, you're $1 million black athlete, you're entitled, and you shouldn't be talking about like when have you been oppressed? It's not about the rich person being oppressed.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? It's about him. He's speaking out for the people who are being oppressed, who don't have a voice to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's also not like, cause yeah, he grew up in a nice neighborhood because he was adopted. Also, you know what I mean? It's not like
yeah.
You know, like so he's gone through things as well too. And it's not like he's not well learned on certain subjects. You know what I mean?
He's pretty well versed in his skill and his forte, and I'll admit that. And before we continue, this is super random. I've realized I've probably been talking to y'all the whole time we're doing this podcast, probably a little louder than normal. So I'm starting to learn not to be as loud. So I'm gonna work on that. I know we've been like a couple of months in with doing this, but now I'm starting to see it because I'm sitting here looking at this recording. I'm like, it's a little different than normal. I'm like, this is where you're talking, and this is where I'm talking. Most of the larger lines is probably when I'm yelling to have a moment. So I'm gonna work on that. But anyway, random 2%. But turning back to Colin Kaepernick, we have this conversation each week. Media has this conversation each week. It's a topic that no one wants to discuss and no one wants to address, but it's the reality. And that is, first and foremost, anything that you do that's bigger than the shield is a problem. We talked about this off air, and we'll talk about it now. Jerry Jones is trying to get that attempt or attention of being bigger than the shield with his back and forth with Roger Goodell. Now, granted, his situation with Roger Goodell is much different because these are both multimillionaire individuals compared to Colin Kaepernick, who's a millionaire-based individual as well. But his difference is his skill. It was kind of like the rise and fall of an athlete that after he had a voice, they were expecting him to fall, but he never fell. Like he just stayed on his path. And that's really what I've seen with him, what I've seen him doing with all that's going on.
He also puts actions behind what he's saying as well too.
Yes.
And he also puts money behind what he's saying as well too. Like money where his mouth is.
Yeah. And that's what's overpassed about him getting this honor, is that he's worked with various, as I mentioned earlier, he worked with various individuals on getting his word out and letting people know, because it's almost as though you have to know a person off. Like we use the term, I'll use the term in the tech talk. Knowing a person do their daily routine is one thing, but knowing them offline is completely different. Like we know each other, we know each other when we do the podcast. Okay, we do the podcast, it's still us being us. But when we not doing the podcast, even if it's not work related, we know each other like how our normal routines are.
Yes.
Colin Kaepernick is able to tap and get you into his offline mindset in what he's been doing over this past year. Because it's been, you look at it, it's been a year from the time, from the moment he took a knee to everybody being up in arms like, oh my God, he's making so much of an uproar. He's doing so many things that we aren't fond of. And it's like, everyone had an issue with what he's doing because it ruffled feathers and it made people think about what they weren't used to thinking about.
And I feel like that was because at the end of the day, you have to think, like, what are you really mad about him doing? So you're mad about him kneeling during the anthem. So at that point, you're trying to change, like, why he's kneeling during the anthem.
Yep.
He's kneeling during the anthem to create attention for something else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, like, he's not kneeling to disrespect the anthem. He's kneeling so you can understand where he's coming from. Like, I'm going to come down to his level and see where he's coming from, see what he's trying to talk about.
Yeah.
If you're just, like, looking at him and not trying to hear what he's talking about, then
you miss the message.
Exactly. And that's what also he's trying to do with this as well too. That's why he accepted it. Also try to bring the narrative back to what it's supposed to be on instead of what the people who stole the narrative at.
Mm-hmm.
That's also what Eric Reed, one of his teammates, who was one of the first people who kneeled with him also, who's by his side, who's still with the 49ers right now.
Right.
That's what he's been trying to do as well, too, because he's kind of been the one who's close with Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
But he's also been talking about it. Because Colin Kaepernick hasn't really spoke out recently. But it's also kind of smart on his side as well, too, because if he does come out and talk, right, you know how, like, say, like, the media is, right?
Yeah.
Well, they'll try to decipher everything, every little thing he says, try to, you know.
And the tough part, to add to what you said, and this is what I personally have had to learn as far as being a podcaster, as far as being a voice, a personality with radio and whatever. You want to be, and I had, in the line of work that we do, and as I always say, I don't mention names. I had someone make a comment, and their exact words were, "Be very cautious of what you're about to say next." And I didn't take it personal, but I took it understanding of, okay, I want to make sure whatever I tell this person is going to be what they need to know so they can go on about their business. When it comes to talking to the media or talking about these type of issues, what you say or how you say it or how it's interpreted, the media is going to run with it.
Prime example is Cam Newton. It's on a way lighter subject.
Mm-hmm.
However, they went away and ran with what he said.
Yeah.
He could have meant something totally different. However, you know,
it's the same
it
thing.
may come off a different way than what you really mean it to come out.
Right.
Know? So, and that can happen with anything you say, let alone like a more
because
touchy subject that comes across to a lot of people. You know, that a lot of people have emotions about.
Right.
You know?
Like if you look back with LeBron, like LeBron James was doing a interview on, I think he was at the Garden, and they talked to him about how he felt about what they were doing in the draft. And I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if we talked about this last week or not.
I believe we talked about it a little bit. How he said that Dennis Smith is a really great kid, and that they should have got Dennis Smith. Pretty much is all pretty much what he said. Okay,
because the other part of it that really was like the take it and run was how he felt about Phil Jackson, but he gave the media answer that was basically to say, you take with it and you run with it how you feel, but I'm just gonna say to you, I don't have much to say about Phil Jackson. Y'all know how I feel about it. Right. And that's, you take that and go with it. But to all of that aside, overall, he's, his silent protesting and his mark on not just football, but on life has caused people to really open their eyes and really look at things with a different scope. And that's why I feel like him getting the award was, it was just fine. Like you wouldn't have gone wrong. Like I said, we talked about it or mentioned it early in our podcast a couple weeks back. J.J. Watt could have been the recipient. He did a lot of stuff, but it's not taken away from what he did to say that he didn't get the award.
Yeah, just because you're saying something good about someone doesn't mean you're trying to say something bad about the other person. What J.J. Watt did in helping people in their time of need was the human thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the American thing to do to help out others in need. So like what he did was very great. What he did for everybody in Houston area, in Corpus Christi. So like that was great.
Right.
What Colin Kaepernick did was like with speaking is always great. Always to use your voice.
Yeah.
Also, it kind of goes back to the Martin Luther King quote where he says, "The day you stop talking is the day you start to die." Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you always have to use your voice.
Yeah, and I think that's what, going back and you stating that is key, because that's what I think. I've never said that too often with doing this show. That's kind of been my main thing, is to help others understand, like, hey, if you want to get out and do something, do it. Like, I pick with you. Well, I don't pick with you about it, but I look back on it. Like when we first started the podcast, I remember you were like, "Oh, I'm not really sure. I won't get into." Now we flow better for the show, because now it's like, all right, I'm learning. All right, Brian comes in. He usually don't have the information. Dimitri comes in, the stats, information, but it works, and it comes with you having your voice and letting it be known how you feel. One important thing, because it's stated in the article, the image that they used for the cover was to mimic to the Muhammad Ali's anti-Vietnam War protests, which occurred during the late 60s. So that's where the theme look comes from. I mean, Kaepernick always usually will have his fro out anyway. You sometimes will see the cornrows, but you normally have the fro. So for them to do this look and the style that he had on as far as the jacket and everything,
and it's kind of, you could say, a little bit reminiscent. Just about the fact that Muhammad Ali he stood behind what he said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Colin Kaepernick's doing the same thing. Like Muhammad Ali lost a few years of his prime to stand up for what he believed in.
Yeah.
Also went to jail for it as well too. Colin Kaepernick lost probably his
couple years.
I'm just still under the belief that he's not going to play another down in the NFL.
Yeah.
So at that point, he may have lost his career to stand up and speak for people who aren't being spoken for. You know.
That's true. That's the part that's kind of skipped over the most is everything he's doing. It all has made its impact, and it's all going to keep making its impact. But now it always comes back to the same question of, will he ever play in the NFL? And I'm with you. Like, I have that question and concern of, like, I'm not sure. I don't know what could happen. I would love to see him play, but is it likely to occur? I don't see it.
And it's easy to speak out when you don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
He had a lot to lose, and he still spoke out. He lost it, but he still spoke out.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't backed down from it. So.
Yep, that's true.
Definitely deserving of it. Not saying others aren't deserving of it, but
he made his mark in his own way, and that's all we're asking for, and that's how we're looking at it now. So our next story, and before we continue, because I have to always remember a lot of times getting sources is very important. The source that I initially got wasn't the greatest source of an article, but to kind of give the context of what we're addressing and what's going on is Mike Golic, Mike Greenberg have finally, as we called it, gone off the air.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm 35. They started their show when I was in high school.
And their first show aired on January 2nd, 2000.
Yep.
I was...
Let's
not talk about how
Let's not talk about it. But no, in all seriousness, like that was a true reel back in time as far as how far their show has stuck, as far as what they've done as a duo. Like, when I say you listen, anytime people talk about, like, when it comes to ESPN, Sports Center, First Take, what was it? Michael Smith, their show, when they had that, even the 6 o'clock ESPN, all of those shows, great, all well and good. That 6 o'clock, the 9 o'clock side, or 6 to 10, whichever slot they had on ESPN2, you always were guaranteed to get information. And they literally, even with Golic being very football based, they talked about just about they hit every sport that was going on at that time.
They hit a lot of other topics as well too.
Exactly.
They hit a lot of different topics throughout the years as well too.
Yeah.
They would have a back and forth relationship as well too. It was kind of, a little tick for tack, but it was always in a fun, joking type of manner.
They go at each other like you could tell it was like you said, it was a tick for tack, but it was like a respect factor too. Yeah. The end of the show was not without a bit of controversy. The split of the longtime radio partners became a bit of a long running drama itself. There was indication that the end of the show ruined their off air relationship, and that was later disputed. It was an awkward end to one of the staples of ESPN's programming, because that was one, like, when you look at, if you think of ESPN, you can think of all the shows that have come and gone, but Mike and Mike literally has stuck around. Like, even NFL Insiders is kind of still new to me in a sense, because it wasn't really a thing back in the day.
Yeah, and to that point, this had been going on for like a while. There were rumors that Greenberg was leaving the show early this year.
Right.
And there was actually talks that they didn't even have like eye contact with each other, like say like during offline, off air. You never know how true that is. That's just sources. You know what I mean? However, like, to how they were like
on air, they kept it professional, kept it moving.
Exactly. They always did. You could never tell that there was anything wrong with them when they were on the air. So that's definitely a testament to like the respect they had at least for each other, even though they may have been mad at each other with how things went. Because Mike Greenberg's actually going on to his own new venture by himself. He's gonna have his own show on ESPN, and then Goldix actually continue on the Mike and Mike with it's probably going to change the name of it.
Yeah, it's got a weird name. I think it's with Mike. Who is it? Not Tarico. Trey. Yeah, so they're looking at it as Mike and Trey.
Trey and Mike.
Trey and Mike, something like that. Yeah. So that and then that so looking at that, that'll be our positive motivation of saying if we make 18 years, then that'll be a big deal. Now, in all fairness, like our show will ride as long as we, how hard routines come up. So we'll definitely, as information comes, we will keep sharing information on this podcast. So that's, I'm not trying to say I'm looking to be the next Mike and Mike. I'll come clean in saying that. I'm looking to just be good at what I do, or looking for us to be good at what we do. Where do I begin with this next story? So we'll go ahead and we'll do backstory, and then we'll bring you to the present. As you all recall, three kids played for UCLA: LeAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, Jalen Hill. They initially, were caught shoplifting. They went through everything, got in trouble, ended up serving. They ended up doing 10 days of house arrest at the hotel they stayed in.
So that would. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go. You good?
I was gonna say, so it actually wasn't deemed the punishment by China. That was the punishment by UCLA. They told them to stay in their hotel room. China took their passports away until they figured out everything. They limited their restrictions to traveling. However, UCLA was much like, y'all are children, obviously. Yeah. So you need to stay in your hotel room until this is all figured out. Okay. All right, makes sense.
No, that's what we told y'all. See,
it's not on that story that you had sent.
See, so that means that shows us who was reading the story. As usual, y'all know I don't, and it's bad because I really need to do that and just shut down and say, let me go ahead and get into the A to Z of what went down. But basically, to fast forward, they came home, and
who helped them come home was
yeah. So no, go ahead. Pass.
So there was word that the President Donald Trump had helped them. Had helped them
he had a hand.
He helped expedite the process. So they came home. They all three gave their formal apologies in front of the media. Yep. They all read
pre-written
statements, and they all apologized to the university, to the fans, to their own families, and they all admitted how stupid they were. Obviously, you can't say anything but that. And then they all three in their own unique way said thank you to President Trump. Right. And before that, President Trump he, of course, in his always fashioned way, wanted to take credit for it. He's like, are they going to thank President Trump? They're going to say, thank you, President Trump, for helping me out. They could have served 10 years. Right. Put that in an exclamation point, which that was the high if they were found guilty. That was the maximum they could have got. And then after that come out, I'm assuming that LeVar Ball was asked questions. Yep. Put a microphone in his face, like generally some people always do for some reason. And he had some choice words. He said how he's not he didn't really do anything.
It wasn't a big deal. Trump wasn't the reason it wasn't anything more than what it was. They was gonna have to do it one way or the other. It's almost as though, no thanks, Trump. We took care of this ourselves.
Yeah, he said I'm from LA. I've seen a lot of worse things happen than a guy taking some classes. My son has built up enough character that one bad decision doesn't define him. Now, if you can go back and say when he was 12 years old, he was shoplifting and stealing cars and going wild, then that's a different thing. I disagree with that respectfully. Right. Because when he's 12 years old, you're a child still. I would actually at that point feel like, okay, you need to be punished a little bit.
Yeah, we need to give you some type of.
You can still grow.
Yeah.
When you're an adult doing this stuff now,
you're
not a child anymore. Well, people might look at you as a child because you're still a teenager. So at that point, you're still maturing. I understand that. However, you're not a 12-year-old as a child. Yeah. You're just immature.
18. Yeah, I mean, it was a. I still say the same thing. I feel like it was just a bad decision, and it was bad timing. It was the most random.
And they were making fun of it for so long.
Yeah, so the first thing I'm thinking of, and I think I talked about this last week. What impacts the situation the most is that, let's say, one, if not all three of these guys go to the NBA. Preseason games are scheduled some teams get preseason games scheduled in China. The NBA either has to do one or two things: either schedule games as normal, and if they happen to be on that team, they can't play, or you got to find a way to schedule around those players. Like, oh, we can't let them play because they banned, so they won't be able to see this person play on the team. But that's doubtful. I think they'll take the first route because.
And based off of what I've seen, none of these three are good enough to make it to the NBA.
Hey, you never know.
Yes, that is true. You never know. However, just based off of what I've seen, I don't think neither of these three are good enough to make it to the NBA at this point.
Yeah.
And especially with, they may lose a freshman season because of this.
Yeah, so the story we have now that is being addressed is that currently they are suspended indefinitely. Now, anyone who knows from any stories past, any incidents that have occurred, indefinitely can mean anything from 3 games to 10 games to the entire season.
Or you never play again at the university.
Right.
The coach said that they'll have to earn their spot, that they'll have to earn it, and they'll have to show why they deserve a spot, why they deserve to stay at the university itself.
Yeah.
The university itself is actually doing an investigation into these 3 players, and they're all trying to cooperate with that as well too.
Yeah.
And then, what do you think would be? You can't say just because.
So we'll publicly run into where, because we talked about this off air, because I brought up what I think would be a worthwhile punishment with my personal opinion. Keep in mind, my personal opinion, not valid, not accurate. Short term, I would say anywhere from 10. I think I mentioned 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 games. I would say 10 to 20 games, 20 max. The extent of, because you think college basketball goes up to about 30 some games, but it's because they playing, like, if you playing each of your teams in your conference and then all your non-conference games, so they've already played a couple of games already. But yeah, 10 to 20 games would be the least. The max, the unrealistic, it's going to be based on if they choose to go that route, is that they don't play this year.
Yeah. I feel like it's the teeter-tottering of, like, how do you punish them? Like, do you want to punish them, and do you, like, are you going to go too far? You know what I mean? Because, like, at a certain point, you may go too far, and it can still affect their
morale.
Yeah, it can affect their morale, and maybe making them make dumb decisions even more.
Yeah.
Like, say they get kicked off the team, kicked off the team in general, and it changes them. Like, you know what I mean? I would say that they don't deserve to be kicked off. I wouldn't say they deserve to be kicked off the team.
Okay.
I would say a season is. We talked about this before, and I was like, season's kind of long. More thinking about it, I would say season. You guys did some dumb things in another country on behalf of the university, because you guys went there on the university's money.
Yeah.
You guys went there to represent the university. You guys went there like as a learning experience.
Right.
And instead, you guys decided to do something to take advantage of people in that country. I was gonna say more of the lines of like 15 games.
Okay.
But a whole season, I wouldn't say that's too harsh.
Okay. Now, and an add-on. Now, so this is an add-on, but this is also like a side story, because remember we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Now, this is a completely different scenario, but it's the same kind of a one-off circumstance. Think back to when we talked about the players. Now we're going from the maximum extreme to the random something happened, and how did we get to this point? 2 players on the team, same team, they got a beef with each other. The beef gets personal. They start throwing blows. Somebody actually punched somebody in the nose. The player who got hurt, he's out for so many weeks. I don't even think he still came back from his injury.
16 weeks.
Yeah, and Bobby Porter is still on, like, he's come back from his couple of games suspension, and it's been like, welcome, hey, we appreciate. So it's like, that's, like I said, that's an extreme of an example, but it's a similar scenario where it's like they suspended him a couple games, but it was like one of those. The difference was the only reason we happened to know about that story was because a source, as we call it, the source. But
and also someone got hurt.
Exactly.
Got hurt.
If he didn't get hurt,
they had to say why he got hurt, how he got hurt. So
yep.
And
but with this is a different extreme, only because it's not that it, like, if it happened in the U.S., it probably would have been a much more manageable story.
Probably so. I would say so.
But I think because it was in China, it literally like it made more airway, and I believe this was addressed in the story we presented last week. The extreme that they were, that the media there didn't give it as much attention as we gave attention to it. Like it was talked about in China, but it didn't get as much talk.
Also because they have a lot stricter laws out there,
right,
and regulations, and so at that point, compared to like what we have in America, it's definitely different. Like it's a different world to us out over there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like that punishment was going to be very like steep. And what they were looking to do, 3 to 10 years, that's very steep for stealing glasses. They did steal from multiple stores also as well too. But still, 3 to 10 years, that's a long time for taking some glasses.
Yeah. That's true. They learned from it. Hopefully this was an eye opener.
We don't know yet if they learned from it. Hopefully they have.
Yeah.
One person who has not is the father, obviously.
Yeah.
Ball. You can't. I feel like you just can't keep saying that it's not a big deal. It's more than that now. That's how he's gonna be known from now on. Like D'Angelo, to most people, to someone who's not like a basketball fan, stuff like that, they see his face, they may remember from this story,
right,
and say like you're a thief, you're a thug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I mean that's all it takes is for something dumb to happen, and then you automatically corners. Look at that ignorant fool. Look at what they did. They doing stupid stuff again. They ain't got nothing else to do with their time but steal stuff. So, and this is probably not the best thing to say, but I'm gonna say it. It doesn't benefit that all three of them are black. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like it's an even tougher mark to have that be added to the scenario, but it's something that no one's probably said or thought about that. But I'm gonna be that risky person to say it because it's a key. I mean, it's a part of the equation.
Yeah, and they definitely should have been taught and told that by.
You should have had
someone by someone that you. Like, just in general, you shouldn't be going to a different country doing that type of things. And just, like, in the position that you are, as you're getting a scholarship to play basketball.
Right.
To help yourself, maybe, like, showcase yourself to where you want to be at, which is the NBA. And you're over here doing these type of things, which are actually going to hurt you in the end. Right. It's not looking good for you.
Yeah, that's true. So, we, before we get into our last some semi-sports story, we have, of course, the Ass of the Week is definitely sports related. We'll do what I always like to call, and I'll try to keep this. So we're gonna go for 10 minutes. So right now we're at 51 minutes. So we're gonna try to keep it in a 10-minute window of talking about basketball. It may be less than that, but looking over as I call it, the world of the NBA, the trend is still consistent. Boston is officially getting the love they deserve. Philadelphia played a little bit of surprising basketball. I'm still trying to understand how it's possible to score 47 points in one quarter and to give up a 47 points right back and let a team back into a game. But it's the 76ers, so
yeah, they're definitely showing that they're young and they still need to grow. However, I still, as a team, I like where they're headed with Ben Simmons. They have two franchise pieces right there, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. If Joel Embiid can stay healthy, Joel Embiid he's great.
We haven't seen any health.
He can be great.
Yeah, we haven't seen any health drops yet.
He did run into the
stanchion.
The stanchion yesterday, and that was a little scary. I was watching the game live, and I didn't know what would happen because he has his injuries. So all right, I'm sorry, let me go back. I don't want to say Lakers yet. Phoenix still looks like Phoenix. I'm still trying they've had a couple wins in there. They're not in last place anymore. They were looking terrible before. Now they're just looking really bad.
Yeah, right now the Marvin Bagley Michael Porter sweepstakes is between Sacramento and Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not, because Dallas is going to be rebuilding only because you look at it.
The Bulls said, "Don't forget about us."
What's that?
The Bulls said, "Don't."
Oh yeah, of course. And because if I'm not,
and the Hawks.
Yeah,
the Hawks at 3-13.
Yeah, the Hawks took a tough. The Hawks took another shot to the face against Boston. Not the best reference, but yeah, they took a heavy hit against Boston because Boston is still on there. Like I said, they're on their streak now. Cleveland's picking up now. They're starting to kind of get the ball rolling. They're above 500, so every sanity has been restored somewhat.
Minnesota's been playing well also. They're 10-5 right now. San Antonio's still waiting for Kawhi Leonard to come back. They're trying to hold down the fort until he comes back.
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, Tony Parker ain't got but so much left in the tank now.
Actually, I don't believe he's came back either.
He's still out.
He's still out also. So they're still doing all right without having both of those players in there.
I still wish Jonathan Simmons didn't leave.
Speaking about Jonathan Simmons, though, with the Magic, they are playing. Well, they've lost a couple games. They lost. I jinxed them last week. That's my bad. I jinxed them last week. I talked about how good they were playing. Yeah. They lost 4 in a row. I'm sorry.
But I think it was
Magic doing terrible. Hopefully they start, turning.
But that's part of. I think part of it is because of having that infamous. Orlando can get away with being under the radar, and it's not a big deal because they're not. I mean, you really don't know what you're gonna get out of Orlando because if you look at Orlando, all right, this is the best way for me to put it. If you look at Orlando as of right now, with who they have and who you could think of on their team, what's their identity? Don't worry, I'll wait.
They got so they have some athletic players. Well, one athletic player I'm thinking of is Aaron Gordon. He's playing better this year.
Finally,
Aaron Gordon's playing better this year. Yeah. Vucevic is playing nice down low.
Yeah, that's true.
Fournier is a good shooter outside. He's been playing also pretty well. With their identity, we're still trying to figure that out. They're gonna be like I haven't watched them enough to know. Not like a full game because they're not on TV that much as well too.
Yeah.
So they're still trying to find that also.
Okay.
But then again, also you can't really compare teams in the beginning of the season because in the beginning of the season, that's when bad teams can actually sneak up on the good teams because it's like the teams are still trying to find out who they are. They're just trying to come together. Yeah. And they're not really it's a long season. They're not in a race. They're over here in that it's a marathon, not a sprint mentality. Yep. So now you can go ahead and sneak one out.
Because Detroit, I mean, right now, if we look at it, Detroit looks great, quote unquote, in the start of the season. But we still have plenty of basketball remaining to not really the measurement is kind of unfair to them, and it's unfair to the league because
I like how they've been playing though. They're one of 5 teams in the East to have a plus minus differential. Yeah. So that in that side they're doing well. To speak about the Celtics though, I feel like they're doing great. The fact that their offense is their offense is bad.
Their offense is one dimensional.
I'm gonna be real.
Go ahead and say it.
Their offense is pretty bad, but their defense is great because they're right now in the Eastern Conference. They're the 4th worst offensive team in terms of points per game. Not in terms of efficiency, but in terms of points per game, they're the 4th worst team. But in terms of scoring, defensively, they're the only team in the East that doesn't allow 100 points. They allow 94.4 points a game.
So that's the best in the league. That balances them out then in that regard. Are you still sticking to Kyrie as your MVP running? I think you had. Did you say MVP or you had him in the race?
I had him in the race. Okay. I put him as my MVP. Okay, I don't remember who I put as my MVP. I could have put him as my MVP.
I can go back and listen,
He's still in that race, I feel. Okay. Just because when you're on the best team in the NBA, you always have a shot, and you're the best player on that best team, you always have a shot at winning the MVP. And right now, he's leading that team. It's a young team right now. He has a good shot at it. However, I feel like the person who's on the top of that mountain and someone has to knock him off would be James Harden. Yeah. James Harden's playing on another level right now. Yes. Their team's playing great also. So I feel like he's the person to beat because they're not going to give it on anyone in Golden State. Let's be real.
You say they're not?
They're not. Okay. One of them would have to have a fantastic season, and I don't see them doing that.
Yeah. Right now they've gotten the chemistry together where they're distributing the ball a lot much better. So it's not a one base I will say this, and that it's in the past, but it's relevant to an extent. Last year when Durant got hurt, before Durant got injured, Durant was in that talk. It's tough to say now.
He played without Durant.
Yeah, it's tough to say because Westbrook was doing a lot statistically, but Durant could have gave Westbrook a close run, but it wouldn't have been. It's like the Westbrook and Harden run was a lot closer. Yeah. But I'm with you. Like as far as the team this year it's like watching the Boston Big Three when it was Garnett, Ray Allen, and Pierce, and it wasn't like one person was dominant all the time. It was each one of them would kind of say, "All right, this could be your night. This could be your night."
But they did it a better way of saying, like, they did take your turns, like here, take our turns. However, they did it in the way of like the flow of the offense as well too.
Right.
Versus how OKC first came out this year and they were still like take my turn, your turn, and they're still like that. They're still below 500 right now.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you, and I don't know if we talked about this. I think we may have. If we didn't, then I'll try to chip at it, and I'll make sure we do LA talk because I don't want to forget. OKC's problem is you have 3 guys who were stars in their respective teams coming into an offense in a unique situation. And this is what I mean. Here it is. You have Westbrook, who is a floor general but a scoring point guard in so many words. You have Carmelo, who is a ball dominant forward. And you have Paul George, who plays the same position as Carmelo, but they try to put Carmelo as a 4, which is weird, and they try to put George at times as a 4, which is even weirder because you have the length but not the size. And out of those 3 players, what no one realizes until I saw it in a game, and now I understand it. Paul George, out of all 3 of them, is the thinker. He thinks quicker. Not quicker. He thinks a lot more during the game than the other 2. Carmelo kind of already got in his head what he's going to do when he gets the ball. And Westbrook, he knows he pretty much can run past any guard at any time.
And I feel like Paul George is the most important player on that team, to be honest. Just because when he's going, as a team, they're better.
Yes.
They're better as a team when he's going. Kamar Anthony can always get his shots up, can always get shots. So I'm saying it's not as important to get him going as it is as important to get Paul George going and finding the spots that he wants to get his shots at.
Yeah.
The crazy part to me is the fact that they're 7-8, but they have a plus minus of 5.4. There are teams with winning percentages, and they have lower. They have negative plus minuses.
But it's probably the
their defense is actually better than I expected.
Especially with Carmelo. Because having Carmelo on your team would be the surprise kick. All right, so we're gonna talk about the haircut or no?
Let's go to we can go with the Lakers now.
Yeah, we go with the Lakers. Let's go with the. I got a lot of information. I won't even say information. We'll just do general conversation.
So,
LA.
Go ahead.
LA is in a unique position, and you probably can say this quicker than I will. Right now, it's too early to do, but it's already being done, and that is we're throwing in the towel on Lonzo.
Now I have some stats to help out Lonzo's to help with the argument for Lonzo, right? Okay. Because a lot of people like to bring up your shooting percentages, which is also another stat. You know what I mean? So you can't argue for that stat and then argue against another stat. You know what I mean, right? So in this case, Lonzo is in the top 10 in assists per game throughout the whole NBA. Okay. He's also, I believe he's number 4 in assist to turnover ratio with anybody who has more than 100 assists. Talking about the 100 assists, he's one of 4 players in NBA history to have 100 points and 100 assists in their first 16 career games. The other 3 players are Jason Kidd, LeBron James, and who I believe is going to be the Rookie of the Year this year, Ben Simmons. Okay. So those are the 4 players that have 100 points and 100 assists in their first 14 career games. 16 career games, which is definitely
that's not bad. Yeah, that's adding to what you just said. That's good company to be in. I mean, especially the LeBron addresses even more like that tells you a lot. But then, and I don't know if we may have went into this a little last week. Can we let the Jason Kidd comparisons go? But I'm sorry. Let me rewind. Will the media ever let the Jason Kidd comparison go, or are they going to stick to it because that's a strong staple?
I feel like that's a strong statement, so they may stick to it. And comparisons are always fun to do. Yeah. Another thing that happened recently that they were talking about was there's a little scuffle with the Lakers and the Suns.
Yes, that was why I mentioned Phoenix. All right, I knew it was a reason. And
then Lonzo walked away from the scuffle. Right. They asked him about it after the game. He's like, it's the NBA. Ain't nobody gonna fight. Right. I didn't see any point in getting a technical for no reason. Yeah. There was like 3 minutes left in the game or something like that. So he just walked away from it.
So I'm gonna say something, and I'm gonna talk about this because this happened in a volunteering incident last week. So I'm glad that it happened around this time. Two little kids, they were playing basketball. The little kid felt like he got crossed up. He really didn't. Sometimes your feet, just by nature, your feet can go across and you can fall. But because of how it's perceived, it was, oh, he got crossed up. So it was such a hoopla behind it. So we're playing and we continue playing. And I hear the two of them look like they ready to go against each other, like they're going to fight. And I'm looking at them like, y'all not going to fight. Yeah. Like, I'm going to, like, you really not going to sit here and fight while especially with me standing. Now, of course, they didn't have the presentation of standing and putting their fists up, but they really weren't going to fight.
Yeah. However, with this, the thing to me is this: like, say you go out with a couple of your friends, right? Mm-hmm. Say somebody else like approaches you or something like that, right? And you get a little scuffle,
right?
Wouldn't you expect your friends to help you out, or at least to not to like fight your fight,
to at least pull you,
there,
to stop
be
you,
there with you? You know what I mean? So at least you're not there by yourself,
right?
So I'm saying, like, you can't expect somebody like your friends to have your back when you don't have their back.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. Like, as a leader, you got to be there for your teammates.
Yeah.
Like, if it's just separating it, if it's doing something, either way, you got to be there for your teammates. You know what I mean?
I think, so this is, now mind you, this is the rookie, I won't say rookie hazing, this is the rookie learning curve. Because he may not be looking at it as, now, we're going to put it, I'm giving it a scenario, so just hear me out. Let's say that person that was fighting, or was potentially going to fight, was either one of his brothers, and they were playing for Chino Hills, or if it was any of those teammates who were on that team those times that he won state championships. I guarantee that would have been different.
And it can't be that way. Like, if you want to win championships, if you want to like go somewhere, you want to win games, you need to create that unity. That's what the Warriors have. Trust and believe. If somebody steps up to Steph, that Draymond Green's to be one of the first people.
Well, remember the Draymond Green incident? Yeah,
exactly.
They literally got in there and was like, "No, y'all, let's split it up." Yeah, but you're right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're all going to be in there trying to at least split it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because let's be real. Like the Warriors aren't the toughest team, like per se. Like with Steph, with a couple of people on the team, right?
Yeah, you got Draymond is about the grittiest one, but that's just by nature, and then the rest of them are kind of pushovers. I hate to say it that way, but
in terms
of fighting, I don't see.
Yeah, in terms of that, yeah. On the court, however, that's a different story.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, definitely. So I'm saying he can't be as passive. He has to go ahead and help out, like be there for his team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that would help team unity also.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I went 5 minutes over.
Oh,
go ahead. Who?
One bright spot's Kyle Kuzma when we're talking about those.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to ask.
No, that's good. But no, Kyle been balling. I will say that. All I need y'all to do, and I'm gonna let it go, is, and I'm not saying you personally expecting this you expecting them to do this literally, but it would be great if they utilize it, and that is Brandon Ingram got to bring it each night. I feel like he's coming into form, but I also can tell like he's still trying to like feel his way into a game.
He's not he needs to be as aggressive as Kyle Kuzma is.
Right.
Because Kyle Kuzma, he comes out there, he's ready to shoot that sucker up.
Yeah.
Like, he's ready to come out there scoring. And that's how Brandon Ingram needs to come in. Like, you were the number 2 pick. Like, if you were playing well, there'd be as much hype around you as there is like around Lonzo. Like, there'd be a lot of talks about you. Whoever the star is in LA, there's gonna be a lot of talk about you. So if you want to be that star, if you want to have that talk, you have to play like it.
And I'm not taking nothing away from him. He is averaging 14 a game, so that part can't go unnoticed. But Brook Lopez is averaging more points than you.
Well, Brook Lopez came in. He averaged 20 points a game last year.
Yeah.
I think the thing more to me though is Kyle Kuzma's averaging more points than him, and he's a rookie.
Yeah.
So I like Kyle Kuzma, but I'm saying you're playing more than he is. You started twice as many games as he has. You should be putting up better stats than him. However, there's an argument with that. He's playing pretty good defensively.
That's true.
He's playing alright defensively.
You tried. You did try.
But
yeah. Well, I mean, we just. I'm just looking forward. I'm looking forward to the season continuing. I mean, I'm not putting LA in playoff bound anything. I'm just putting LA in. Let's get at least is close to not being the high lottery pick, if anything. But I also know it's going to be beneficial for trades and prospects, and possibly the quote unquote LeBron sweepstakes. So
we'll if they lose, we don't have a pick this year.
So y'all want to try to at least have a decent season then this year. That's what we're trying to go for. I got you.
At least show some hope so somebody actually wants to come save the Lakers, because right now they need some saving.
Speaking of saving, the knot was tied. The Beauty and the Beast theme was presented for Serena Williams and her Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian. They got married in New Orleans after they had their Serena had a very busy year. Like, let's start there first and foremost. 'Cause I really didn't realize it until I looked over it. Like, as far as her timeline, it started off strong.
She likes to multitask.
Yeah, talent. I mean, but her, like, if you look at it, her brand is some kind of serious. So I get it. I don't knock it, nor do I judge it. She won the Australia Open while pregnant in January.
Multitasking.
Yeah, that's multitasking by itself. Gave birth to her first child in September. And then she recently just got married. They met in Rome of 2015. They got engaged December of last year, and they tied the knot this past Thursday. There were about 250 guests there. Some of the big names were there. Of course, our favorite couple, Jay-Z and Beyonce. Before I continue, because I want to be fair and letting y'all know, this is not that tabloid, taboo, giving y'all stories about what's going on in the shade room. This is actually, as you will see in the link, this is a CNN article, so I'm not getting like the dramatic, over-the-top storyline of it. Kim K was there. I'm sorry. Well, they put her name, Kim Kardashian West. Eva Longoria was there with her current husband. There were quite a couple other individuals there. It was held at the Contemporary Art Center down in New Orleans. It was supposed to be themed, as I mentioned earlier, based on Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Everyone came in, with the music, sound of the music's favorite songs from other movies' famous songs. Be our guest. It was leading up to the ceremony. Her coach wished them a very happy wedding on Instagram. Serena's currently 36 years old. She is quite a adding to her just her getting married. She's only won 23 Grand Slam titles in her career and planning to possibly defend her title in Melbourne next year. So she's gonna be right back to business. Yeah. And that won't be long after her giving birth to her daughter, Alexis Olympia. Her husband is 34, and he founded Reddit. He co-founded Reddit in 2005 with his UVA roommate Steve Huffman. Serena's been on a heavy transition, and if anyone who knows, and y'all know I'm straight up about it, I avoid a lot of tennis conversation. I think I did I'm trying to remember if I did the story on the girl who won a couple months ago. I may or may not have. I don't remember.
The one who said like she was happy about how much money she
got. Yes. Yep. I guess we did. But it's big for Serena to get to this plateau, strictly because typically the first thing that's always talked about is she's from Compton, and they always talk about her when her and her sister first came into tennis, and they had all the B's, and they went through that whole ordeal.
Her dad was also kind of like LeVar Ball.
Kinda.
Yeah.
But he
changed.
He changed, but he also realized like he needed to know where his role belonged, and be like, you're the reason they're here. No problem. We appreciate you bringing us here. Let me do my job.
Yeah, if you want them to grow, you have to let them grow.
Yeah.
You have to give them the space to grow.
That's what I mean. If you look at a lot of superstar athletes, their moms will be in presence and in attendance, but mom is not taking over. Like Kevin Durant's mom, yeah, she may make little sly comments and throw some jabs here and there on social media to have fun, but at the end of the day, she sit back and just let Kevin Durant be Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
Shaq, same way. And this was a super 2% story, and it wasn't anything worth sharing here, but I'll share it with you all as listeners and with Dimitri as well. Shaq created what's called a rim tree that showed all of the it showed all of the rims from courts that he broke backboards during his career. And it's literally like, it looks like a regular tree, but it's like, it's not a literal tree, but it's like orange or whatever. And on the end of it, it's like got branches, and it's got, on the end of it, it'll show like the rim, and it goes like a certain height or whatever. And I thought it was just interesting because you look at it like, Shaq broke quite a few baskets in his time of playing in the NBA, and I thought I'd share that.
Yeah, he was the one who changed how they get the breakaway rim now.
This is true. But yeah, Serena and her new boo are together forever, and I'm wishing them nothing but success. Alexis Oharia, if you're able to, I would love to get some feedback and some tips. Alexis Ohanian, some feedback and tips on how your business rolled and what got you to be successful, because that's what my goal, as anyone's goal, should be.
Yeah, he made up Reddit with his roommate when he was in college.
Yeah, I'm loving that. I mean, that's some unexpected. So this is our segue, and segue happened a little quicker than normal, but for good reason, because this week it wasn't that there wasn't a lot going on in sports. I just didn't want to bombard everyone with a lot of topics and articles, so we can kind of get that bit of an hour done, but still get like some information and content out there to you all. So I have one, believe it or not, I guess I could do a little bit of tech story, because I know Call of Duty's been up for a while. I talked about that already. Star Wars 2 just made this big scene, so everybody's playing that now. And Capcom this weekend, and some of the stuff I'm surprised I always know will pick up on it. Capcom Pro Tour had their finals for players trying to get in to possibly play in the upcoming World Cup tournaments, and they showed that on Twitch this weekend, which then presented Street Fighter with showing a new mode that's coming next year called Arcade Edition. So anyone that has a PlayStation 4, if you're looking to get into some more if you're a Street Fighter lover, they do have an Arcade Edition that's coming out, and they'll be introducing more V-triggers, antis, and things of that sort. So what we're gonna jump on with the one tech story that was addressed is that YouTube will be getting rid of the suggested video links starting next month, which means that you will no longer be allowed to promote videos, playlists, or live streams during a clip. It's mainly, cards and end screen. Let's see. I'm reading this is kind of like a tough breakdown. YouTube told us this will remove existing. They told us this will remove existing in-video notifications, which could lead to some awkward moments in videos where presenters point to pop-ups that no longer exist.
Yeah, like those little things that pop in the middle of the screen. Like they say, like, "Oh, we suggest this video in the middle of a video that you're already watching," which doesn't really make much sense. I usually don't click on it myself. Because
most people, when you go, so to put as a YouTube viewer, to put it in perspective, if I watch a video, I came to watch the video.
Exactly.
I didn't come to watch these other links that you're recommending on your video, because sometimes, most cases, I'm trying to click those off because I want to see the actual video, because that's what I came for.
Exactly. Or you can accidentally click it, and then
right, and then you're stuck because it's gone to this video, and you're hoping when you go back that it didn't start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is another, I guess you could say, another step in the right direction for YouTube. YouTube is making, they're making a lot of changes for the better their business, for their brand, however you want to term it. And I personally don't see this as being a bad thing. I think it's gonna, as they're saying, for viewers, it will only make YouTube videos more enjoyable. They already have enough distractions while trying to enjoy your favorite content. One viewer is a blessing. So, I always love reading stuff like this, because when you have stories like this that are shared, people leave comments. I was going to look at some of the comments, but they're mainly just making a change. Like you said, if you're looking at a video and in the midst of the video, like, if you want to go to my previous video, just click here. And it's like, instead of you forcing me to click something on this video, just put the link in the description. Like, that's what it's there for. Like, on YouTube, anyone who does YouTube content, you're not limited to how much you can put for the description. Because I used to do, that's probably something down the pike I'm looking at doing. But as far as like recording podcasts, like doing cameras and all that, you can edit how you want your article or your content to be displayed. Yeah. So that's something that YouTube is changing. As I mentioned, there isn't much much tech or stuff that I have that I'll be talking about today. So we'll actually be going a little earlier than normal into our artist spotlight. And I found this to be my petty yet ironic way of being a musical snob. Since last week we did Chris Brown. I haven't addressed her as an artist yet, but I went ahead and did Rihanna Fenty, better known as Rihanna. I'm going to give the shortened version. As y'all know, I always give like the quick short cliff notes, and then usually Dimitri comes in as the recipient of the alley-oop and gives like more detailed information. Her first album that she dropped was Music of the Sun. It had sold more than 2 million copies worldwide. She did, release multiple albums and a multiple list of songs such as Unfaithful, Umbrella, Disturbia, Take a Bow, Diamonds, and We Found Love. One of her biggest career transitions that a lot of people forgot or don't realize hit so quick was her makeup scene. She took that on this year, and that was kind of a big change to the scene that a lot of people don't look at with her. I know I'm being bad and not doing this. Well,
to help out with the start of her career,
pickup.
She was actually discovered when she was 15 years old in Barbados by Evan Rogers. He went down there with his wife, and as he said it, because she actually had started a group with 2 of her classmates. Okay. And unfortunately for 2 of her friends, the minute that he walked in, what he says verbatim is, quote unquote, is the minute Rihanna walked into the room, it was like the other 2 girls didn't exist. Wow. He admitted less than a year later that was when Rihanna was only 16 years old. She left Barbados to move in with him and his wife to go back to go to Connecticut and start working on a demo. Okay. So that was when she was starting off. Yeah, starting off, and she said she never looked back after that.
Yeah, she didn't join Def Jam in January of 2005. She had started with the president and of course legendary rapper Jay-Z. We talked about him earlier. She was mainly there just kind of shaking, nervous, but she didn't started to sing and regain composure, and just kind of went forward from there. Not too long afterward, in August of 2005, she made her first single, which was a huge hit, Upon the Replay, which did reach number 2 on the Billboard charts. She brought out her first album. Her first album had released later on, which was Music of the Sun, climbed to number 10 on the Billboard albums, and she had a couple of singles on there. If It's Loving That You Want. Well, she had one of her other hit singles was Loving That You Want. She then brought out her next album, A Girl Like Me, which brought out Unfaithful and SOS, which was her first number 1 single. Then she, as I would like to call it, flipped the script, but she rebranded for good reason in 2007 by bringing out Good Girl Gone Bad, which brought out one of her hit singles Umbrella with Jay-Z. And if you listen to the lyrics, Jay-Z mentioned stating that if you listen to the lyrics to that song, you know the depth and how far she's come. Umbrella topped the Billboard singles chart, and the album reached number 2 on the charts, and also features the singles "Shut Up and Drive" and "Don't Stop the Music." With the latter featuring a sample from Michael Jackson's "Wanna Be Starting Something," which a lot of people don't remember or wouldn't think of until they really hear that song. She then brought out, let's see, "Good Girl Gone Bad Reloaded" was released the following year, which brought out the hits "Disturbia," "Take a Bow," and "Hate That I Love You." From that, if I'm remembering correctly, "Hate That I Love You" was with Chris Brown. It's been a while because I hadn't heard that song in a minute. She went through her fair share of rocky stages. 2011. Let's see. I'm sorry. She then brought out the album Rated R in 2009, which brought out the singles "Hard" and "Rude Boy." "Rude Boy," it's 2017. You can still hear "Rude Boy" somewhere because it's one of those songs that was repeatedly known.
And it was Neo that was featured with
Neo. Okay, Neo. I was like, thank you. I was like, Chris Brown. Why does that not sound right? Okay, thank you. See, that's where co-host helps a lot. She then brought out in 2010 "Loud," which was a commercial success. We had a couple of songs, "What's My Name," "Only Girl," and "S&M." She had quite a bit of songs. She then was a feature on a lot of other artists' songs, such as Jay-Z's "Run This Town," Eminem's "Love the Way You Lie," also with Maroon 5, "If I Never See Your Face Again," and Kanye's "All of the Lights." She then, in 2011, brought out her 6th album, "Talk That Talk," which included "We Found Love," which is a track done with DJ Calvin Harris, and that did win a Grammy Award for Best Short Form in 2013.
In 2012, she was actually, by Time Magazine, included Rihanna on its 100 most influential people in the world. In August 2013, Rihanna is placed at number 13 on Billboard's greatest of all time Hot 100 artists. Billboard also ranked Rihanna at the top Hot 100 artists of the 2010s decade. And in 2014, Time Magazine's pop stardom ranking metric ranks Rihanna second in history, based on chart performance as well as contemporary significance. Some of her achievements that she has accrued over the years is she's received 8 Grammy Awards, 12 Billboard Music Awards, 12 American Music Awards, 8 People's Choice Awards, and she's also in the United States. Rihanna has sold over 10 million albums.
Okay.
And also the Nielsen SoundScan ranked her as the best-selling digital artist in the country.
Big stuff. She did a lot of things in her career. She did go through her rocky stages of things. In 2009, she was involved in a domestic violence incident with her then boyfriend Chris Brown. He had assaulted her before an award show. It's caused a huge. It generated a lot of support for Rihanna, and then she became a spokesperson against domestic violence. And she was during the interview with Diane Sawyer. She mentioned, "This happened to me, and it can happen to anyone." She then got involved with Matt Kemp, but they eventually ended up being split, going separate ways. Love caused her to hurt very hard, and a lot of times, when you go through love and its ups and downs, it can sometimes come into your music. She, addressed similar instances and saying she had her guard up very hard. She didn't want people to see her cry. She didn't want people to feel bad for her. It was a very, very vulnerable time in her life, and she refused to let that be the image. She wanted them to know that she was okay, she was tough, and she would put it, she put that up until it felt real. Overall, after that, she had a couple more albums. She did Unapologetic and Anti. Anti was her latest album she did, which introduced a song with Drake called Work. And like I said, it's not the article that I have doesn't have it, but I did mention it briefly. She has ventured with doing makeup, trying to get, because her biggest target, she was trying to make sure that she had a color, or as far as a makeup tone that wouldn't be difficult for everyone to find. So that's I know a friend of mine pointed that out to me, so I was able to kind of get a better sight and a better understanding with that.
She also does fragrances as well too. Like different fragrances as well too. Yeah, she's definitely done. She's done a lot more since what happened back in 2009.
Yeah.
She's also done a lot with fashion as well too.
Okay.
She's been she presented her first women's spring fashion collection at London's Fashion Week.
Yeah.
That was back in 2013. So she's done stuff in fashion as well too. She's touched a lot of different fields, you could say.
Yeah. I mean, you had to make yourself marketable, because marketing is what you have. So it's important to take that into account. Marketing was not good for our ass of the week this week. I don't know where to begin with this story, because go ahead. I'm gonna let this one. I'm gonna let you roll with this one, and then I'm gonna look for it, because it was a recent story that was addressed that makes things ironic. So
I was gonna give a little bit of a breakdown of what happened with this.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been paying attention to the news recently, there have been a lot of accusations, allegations, and things of that nature coming out about sexual assault, sexual harassment, things of that nature, which aren't to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
Any form of nature. So one person on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jameis Winston. I had spoken about it earlier, how there's some stuff going on with the Buccaneers, and this is what we were talking about.
Right.
So he, back in 2016, on March 13th in 2016, around 2 a.m. is when the driver, she said that's when she picked up Jameis Winston. She said that a couple of his friends told her that she'd be taking the famous Jameis Winston or whatever. Right. So they drove. She said that he thought the whole time he wasn't acting. He was behaving poorly, is what she said. And when she was driving at passerbys, at people, she threw slurs at people who were passing by, homophobic slurs.
Right.
And then he ended up saying that he wants to stop for food. They stopped at a Los Bentos Mexican food place. Right? She said that he reached over and just grabbed her crotch.
Yeah.
And he didn't take it away until she kind of had said something like what's up with that?
Yeah.
And then she had stopped. There's also, she actually had reached out to her employer.
Okay.
She was working for Uber at the time.
Yeah.
And she had told them what happened. She ended up stopped working there. They told her that, we can make it so you never have to drive that person again.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that his account doesn't go to yours ever again. Something like that, right? She had stopped from doing it at that time. They had advised her maybe to go to the police about it. She decided not to, and she just let it alone.
Yeah.
However, now she did want to come out about it now, because she doesn't want anything like this to happen to someone else in the future.
Right.
And she states that she has the right to come out and tell the truth about what happened to her, which definitely, if true, definitely you do have the right to come out and tell it. It doesn't matter how long ago the past or whenever it was. When you feel comfortable coming out, you should come out.
Yeah. Before this is addressed, and before I say anything, because like I said earlier, I want to make sure that I'm saying the right things to present this correctly. And thanks for reading and giving them that info. And those links, the link will be in the bio or in the podcast show notes. If the first thing that I want to make sure that I address before I go any further is that this is alleged. It's tough, because it's always the reverse of it's usually the assumption of you're guilty until proven innocent, but we fail to realize it's the exact opposite. So we don't really know if this is what genuinely happened, but we're at, this is the story and this is how it was presented, and here we are. I don't like stories like these, because things like this can happen to anybody at any time. It was a one-off story. This is the same scenario, but it kind of ties in where a person the guy was driving an Uber, or he was driving the car. He looked away for a split second. The girl who was in the back seat took whatever little bit of petty cash he had, took it and ran. So I mean, I know that's a minor incident to compare to this, but to go to that extreme, allegedly groping or grabbing someone, just it's not appropriate. Story that I was addressing to mention earlier because they just broke this story today. I didn't add it in the podcast because it just kind of it's he's mainly one of his best friends, Ronald Darby. He was a teammate of his at Florida State. He released a statement on today stating that, and I'll read this as best as I can. If I can read. I felt the need to come forward and clarify some inaccurate accounts of the event of the evening of March 13th, 2016, when myself, a friend, and Jameis Winston took an Uber ride in Arizona. There were 3 of us in the car, not just one as had been reported. Myself and James were in the back seat. I am confident that nothing inappropriate in nature happened in the car that evening, and Jameis did not have any physical contact with the Uber driver. The accusations are not true. As with the NFL, because we all know this, the NFL is going to report, they're conducting their own investigation. We have to let this play out and see what happens.
So, about this, the thing, generally, I'm not saying that this is true or that this is false.
Right.
All I'm saying is that generally when there are accusations of sexual assault or something of that nature, generally, there's a higher percentage that are true versus false accusations.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean that there aren't false accusations or false allegations.
Right.
Right? And as you said before, people, especially with media and things of that nature, and then when people read it, you just automatically assume it says that he did this, so he did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that's not always the case. However, you just want to let the process play out itself.
Yeah.
If he did do it, he definitely was in the wrong for what he did.
Yeah.
He definitely should not have done what he did.
Right.
If he didn't do it, then
that's a huge allegation.
That is a huge allegation that definitely defames the person. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're slandering the person's name.
Yeah.
However, we just don't know that. We just don't know the truth yet. However, based off of his history, though, it definitely does not look good. Because based off of his history, it seems like he's had patterns of behaving poorly.
Yes.
He's had multiple incidents when he was back in Florida State.
Crabs.
With the crabs, that was one of the main ones. However, he had something with shooting a BB gun in apartments that was called the police on. He had an incident when he was in the hall, in the study hall or the cafeteria or something like that in the college.
Right.
And he stood up on the table and yelled out some womanizing stuff that he yelled. So he's had other things that he's done that just weren't too upstanding. So it definitely doesn't look good for him, especially after his history.
Yeah.
So it makes you question. It kind of makes you question him, and that's kind of on him at that point.
Yeah.
Because if you had a spotless past, at that point we're looking at it okay, let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on. However, myself, I'm looking at him kind of questionable in the gray area because your past doesn't help you out right here. Right. To be honest.
That's true. All I can say is this, and it's not me being repeating or beating a dead horse. I hope it's not true, but I also know it's tough to have it presented as otherwise, and it doesn't benefit right now, even though it's a completely different case and a completely different scenario. Having Ezekiel Elliott go through what he went through with his whole scenario, these are those things of it has nothing to do with Goodell. It just has to do with people being smart with what they're doing right now.
And I was actually talking to somebody, a couple people at work about that, about how with Goodell and with the Ezekiel Elliott situation that had just previously happened, right? And we're talking about how can you compare these two, sexual harassment, sexual assault versus domestic violence.
Right.
We said they're kind of.
They're equal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're equal.
Yeah.
So at that point, if you punish one, you have to punish the other because you're still doing something that you should not be doing at the end of the day. That's definitely so he should be getting punished. But we also talked about how Goodell shouldn't be the one punishing these people. It should be they definitely should get like a third party, an independent party who does these investigations.
So is that something that they can put into? So maybe, this is why I want to be big time podcast. No, I was kidding. So that then comes to a question that I feel like no one's really thought of. Can they bring that or address that in the new collective bar? Because I think the CBA is already done for their upcoming year. But is that something that they could look at and saying like, hey, instead of having Goodell be part of this, let's have like an anonymous source come in and give do their investigation, tell us what they come up with. Because they've done it with other incidents.
Well, I feel like they shouldn't have an anonymous source or anything.
Well, not anonymous, but just a third party, a reliable source that is going to be unbiased and
I feel like
fair.
they should have one that doesn't work for the NFL, and that doesn't work for the NFLP, that doesn't work for the NFLPA.
Yeah.
He's an independent party.
Right.
Who he's the one who's the judge. You know what I mean? Like
right.
They have their own judge, and they also figure out what's going on with it as well too.
Okay.
And they're part of they should add that to the collective bargaining agreement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a great idea to do it. Primarily targeting this whole story, and I would not. Normally, it would be like, I would talk about it, we're done with it. But it's a little different, only because it just was not. I'm not gonna get on her for her timing, because there's no such thing as bad timing on addressing something of this sort. But on the other side of it, I just wish that people who do things that are this dumb not realize that at any point or at any time it can come to light, and we sometimes forget that.
I feel like
because I'm looking at it like he has to know that was gonna come back full circle.
Some people with power, as we've seen coming out more recently lately, they feel like they can do whatever they want.
Right.
Just ask a recording of someone who's in power right now.
Yeah.
Had a recording from a few years ago.
Yeah.
When you're a celebrity, you can do whatever you want. You can kiss somebody, you can grab them.
Yeah.
And they won't
say anything. Yeah.
Yeah. However, things have changed. Thankfully, the society's changed where women, males too, feel comfortable now to come out and say something about what's happened in their past.
Right.
I know people who stuff like this has happened to in their past. You know, it's like this definitely.
It looks bad.
If it is true, it definitely is bad. Like at that point, like it is bad. It's definitely something that he shouldn't. Like, no one should be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No male or female should be doing this to the opposite sex or to the same sex.
True.
You know, so.
Yeah.
We'll find out more as time goes on.
Hopefully that. I mean, I just want them to give and to not prolong it. And if anything, if it does happen, Jameis learns in the event if it involves any game suspension, that he learns from what Ezekiel went through. But I know it's night and day. So. And
he's still continued on kind of with his ways as well too. Like the other day, a week or two ago, when he pushed the guy in the head with his finger.
Yeah.
He
did. That one didn't. I didn't understand that, especially when you were on the sideline, you weren't even playing and you got involved.
He needs to mature. He needs to mature.
Yeah, but when you don't do things that make sense, that is what seats you in our famous seat of ass of the week. It would have been LeVar of the week this week, but we gave him a pass a little bit because he already did enough craziness. But that's all the show we have this week. If you haven't keeping up with your sports, proud of you. If you keep it up with tech, even more proud. This is my random closeout. Dimitri's been saying he's been ahead 9-1 in his been doing pretty good in most of the fantasy leagues. As y'all know, I've been doing poorly in one of my leagues, and I had a chance to get a win. Luckily, I was able to find a way to not finish. So I'm gonna give you all this tip. This not fantasy league related, but just life related, and that is, if you start something and if you plan on finishing, finish strong and don't leave yourself short on what you need to do. I've shared this with a couple of people. There will be a brand and there will be a podcast brand that will be coming up for the new year. Haven't said anything. I've told a couple of people about it. I talked to Dimitri about it off air because this just hit me this week. So that's what we got. Anything you want to close out with?
Since we're doing a little bit of life tips, I'll give you one to go on the way out too.
All right.
Best preparation for tomorrow is your preparation today.
Facts. I'm with that. That's a good thought. So if y'all made it this far, as Dimitri always says, you're definitely the real MVP. Y'all have a good one. Be safe. Take it easy. Pat signing out. Did you make it to the end of the episode? If so, I do appreciate you listening and tuning in. These episodes get more and more valuable, and I do appreciate everyone taking time to sit down and listen to the episode. Whether you're actually listening to it once it's uploaded on Spreaker.com/Brate Podcast, or if you're downloading it and listening to it on your own convenience. If you want to check out any previous episodes, just check out that page. And if you'd like to inquire or provide any information or feedback or suggestions toward the podcast, please send those emails to pastpodcastbt@gmail.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Enjoy your day. Have a good week and be positive.